Today I'm going to be reviewing Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, ladies and gentlemen, by J.K. Rowling, Jack Thorne and John Tiffany. So yes, if you don't know what this is the 8th Harry Potter book. And it's a script, so anyone who was expecting a book, why? And I will preface this whole review saying that I really enjoyed this book, and that's the main thing. I will say a couple of things to address certain things. The people calling this fan fiction, I think, are incredibly rude, I'm going to be honest, because J.K. Rowling did come up with the original story, she did work on the original story, and there's no way she would have let it go forward unless she liked it, I don't think. So that's my first point. Point number 2 is that I did know all the plot twists before I read it. My friend had been to see the play and I asked him to tell me what happened, so thanks Greg. And yeah, so all of the plot twists, everything that people are like, so not what JK wanted, I knew before going in, I knew what the plot was. So I went into it with very low expectations because of all the negative things. But honestly, I really enjoyed it. I thought that Albus and Scorpius, as the main characters, going through their years of Hogwarts and Albus is trying to live up to Harry's name. I thought that Albus and Scorpius were really good characters. I thought they were really fun. I think their plot actually was quite good. I actually really enjoyed the plot because I think it showed a lot about the Wizarding World that we haven't really discussed because Prisoner of Azkaban. So I really liked that part. I thought the dialogue was really good and some of it would seem a little odd, but on the stage I can imagine it working really well. And some of the transitions in the script don't seem that well done because on the stage they would be better because they have the visual medium to create it. I think you have to remember this is meant to be watched and not read, but if you can read a script, it's really good. I've read a lot of scripts, I was used to reading things like this, so yeah. I think that is probably going to be my spoiler-free thoughts because I do actually want to talk about the spoilers in this book. So if you don't want to be spoiled, though I do suggest if you are going to read this book, possibly look up the spoilers first. I know that sounds really bizarre, but I think it really helped me enjoy the book knowing that all this strange stuff was going to happen. So yeah, I would say go ahead and read it, but brace yourself if you don't know what the twists are. But spoilers, let's go. The Time Turners. The reason I really like The Time Turners is because I think it addressed one of the biggest issues that people seem to have with the Harry Potter series, which is the Time Turners could have done so much. And this book perfectly demonstrates why the Time Turners don't work, why it's dangerous. When Albus and Scorpius try to interfere to save Cedric, all they do is erase Rose and Hugo from time, then erase Harry, Albus, Hermione dies, Ron dies, and Voldemort survived. You know, tampering with time is a no-no, and this book demonstrated why it's a no-no. And I think, despite everything, loads of people have always said that, yeah, Time Turners will solve everything. No, this book proves that, so shh to that. So people who don't like the Time Turners, I think that they were an excellent way to kind of shut up fans, which sounds really mean, but it showed a lot to that. And obviously, because of the Time Turners, you do get some really kind of memorable moments where Umbridge comes back, and I was like, oh my god, Umbridge, I forgot Greg said about her. But having her come back as the villainous character, I think was perfect. It was just so good. That bit, I loved the Time Turners. I thought they worked really well, and they all just seemed to fit into the larger scheme of Delphi Diggory. And I feel like you have to talk about Delphi Diggory when you review this book, because she is Voldemort's daughter. She is the Augury. And I knew going in that Delphi existed. And honestly, I liked her as a character. I thought she was quite a good villain, especially if you take it that all of the plans she made with Albus and Scorpius were specifically to get her, the Time Turner, to go back and meet Voldemort and try to get him to stay alive and all of that. Basically, it was very cleverly done. And I know a lot of people are probably going to have issues with the fact that Voldemort had a daughter, but honestly, I don't put it past him. I mean, he was all about immortal life and living forever, but surely when he knew some of the, like, Horcruxes had been destroyed, he needed something else. So him having an heir just seems to fit. You know, heir of Slytherin, she is a descendant from Slytherin, so it just fits to me that he would try to have a daughter or a child, just so that his line continues if anything does happen to him. And I know he was incredibly arrogant and wouldn't think that's going to happen, but he wasn't stupid. So he did it with Bellatrix, apparently. And I think that works because one of the big things in the Harry Potter series is that Bellatrix loves Voldemort. It's not addressed, but I'm pretty sure J.K. Rowling has said it somewhere, that Bellatrix was in love with Voldemort. She would happily carry his child. So, Delphi should exist. And not only does she exist, but she is quite a good villain. So, that's my Delphi rant, apparently. But, also, another, like, something that I really liked, that a lot of people don't seem to dislike, that a lot of people seem to dislike, is Harry. And Harry is a bad dad. There is no escaping that. I don't think people can accept that. But he even addresses the fact that he doesn't know what he's doing. He is struggling because he doesn't connect with Albus like he does James and Lily. So Albus is the black sheep of the family, and Harry doesn't really connect with him, which presents a lot of issues, especially like the argument they have with the blanket, which was perfect because it comes full circle with the blanket at the end. I think that's really good to have, like, something that was clearly tearing them apart, bring them back together. I really liked it. I really liked the last scene where they go to Cedric's grave. I thought that was really touching. And I think Harry and Ginny's scenes when they discussed Albus were really good because Ginny seems to get Albus a bit better. And this reminded me why Ginny is better in the books, because she is headstrong, she is powerful, and she really does love Harry, but she's not afraid to tell him he's wrong. So that's why that worked. Ron and Hermione were great. Hermione being the Minister of Magic, I adored. I thought it was perfect for her. Ron being a bit of a bumbling idiot was possibly, but that's because I'm not a massive fan of Ron's character anyway. So I was never going to be totally enamoured with it. But I think it worked in the context of the play. I think it was quite a natural progression of Ron's character. I can see him being the guy that makes dad jokes and being appalling with them. And the fact that he still runs Weasley Wizard Wheezes is like what you'd expect, because he does go to help the shop. So, yeah. And Draco, let's talk about Draco for a second, because Draco obviously marries Astoria Greengrass, who dies about, I don't know, she's not very far in, she dies. We don't see her, but we know she dies. And I think that was really sad. I think Draco was such a good character. And not only that, but his relationship with Scorpius is nothing like his with Lucius. So instead, you get some nice father-son moments between them, which, you know, go well with the Albus and Harry ones. That's kind of like one of the main things, is the father-son relationships. And I really liked them. But, I mean, obviously Albus and Scorpius being best friends was also really cool, but I'm gonna say it. Albus and Scorpius should have been a couple, because there is just something about the way they interact. It's like the hugs and the way they're like really best friends, and there is I have no idea what page it's on, but my friend just sent me a picture where it's like Scorpius looks on Albus being hugged by a girl, and it says part of him likes it but part of him doesn't. So like, it's just such a missed opportunity. Instead we just get this kind of weird Delphi Albus thing, which was really weird, but it kind of really helped us think that Delphi is a manipulative bitch. So that worked. I mean, Scorpius and Rose, I mean, I've read a lot of fan fiction where they end up together, but I like to think that that didn't end up together because Scorpius realised the love of his life was Albus. And honestly, I would read like another book about Albus and Scorpius because their friendship was so fun. It was very, I think it's very different from the Harry, Ron, Hermione friendship because it has this kind of tenderness to it that they didn't share. I don't know, it just felt very different. But yeah, there is like a list of things that I could say that I liked. I mean, McGonagall still being there and kind of being willing to be the teacher to Hermione, even though Hermione is Minister of Magic. I adored that. I think the Time Turner things were quite funny, actually. I think some of the Time Turner bits were quite funny because they're just jumping around. And yeah, I don't understand why people have so many problems with it because yes, it wasn't perfect. I think my main problem was the pacing because it still felt rushed even though it's this long. I think it would have worked better on stage because you could see the characters, you could see how they react. Instead you kind of get it very fast in a script, which is what I expect from a script. So I accept that issue because it's not something that can be remedied in this. It has to be seen to be remedied, I think. But yeah, I really like the Godric Hollow sequence at the end with Voldemort. Well, not Voldemort, Harry being Voldemort. And then the Delphi duel because Delphi was a really powerful dark witch. Like, really powerful dark witch. So yeah, I really liked it. I think it went well together. This probably isn't the most cohesive review and it's a little bit ranty, but I'm not sorry about that because to everyone who's always said that, like, yeah, I will give anything J.K. Rowling writes 5 stars, then they're proceeding to give this one a 2 stars. No, she didn't write it, but she did, like, give her blessing. And I think that means a lot. I like to think of it as perfect canon. I think it adds on nicely to the end, and I wish I had more Albus and Scorpius books because their characters are so interesting and complicated. It's been a long time since I've wanted to read Harry Potter, but now I want to read Harry Potter again. But the problem is, I want to read Albus Potter and the blah blah blah. So JK, where is my Albus series? That's what I need, a trilogy of Albus in his final years of school. That is my review of this book that I gave 4.5 stars to because it wasn't perfect. And yes, some of the plot twists were odd. Cedric Diggory being Death Eater, a little bit odd. Hermione being a bitch when Ron doesn't end up with her, a little bit odd. But you know what? It created some funny moments. I enjoyed it. And I really hope some of you did because I would love to talk about this in the comments because I have so many thoughts. But that will be it for this review. So thank you very much for watching. I will have another video up soon. So, goodbye.